Hi everyone. I wanted to go through the last step of your informative presentation project with you. And the last step would be revising and editing your work before turning it in. So I would like you to go through this presentation with me and watch the video till the end. And then you can go ahead and work on your revising and editing checklist once you have done that. And that looks like this. So you're going to wait on this until you have gone through this video with me. And then once you're done with this checklist, at that point, you can turn your project into me. But let's go ahead and take a look at, let me get to the right thing here, the first slide of this presentation. So you need to revise and edit your work, but what does it mean to revise and to edit? Those are two different things. So I want you to have take a quick look at the chart that I have here for you. And revising is really about making your writing sound better. You can add words, remove words, move words around, substitute words. For editing, you are really using your quill activities to help you with this. It's about your capitalization, your word usage, the punctuation, the spelling. And so those are just things to kind of keep in mind as you go through your writing. When you are comparing editing to revising or contrasting the two, they both help your writing to be stronger. But editing is really about grammar. So that's where those quill activities come in. Revising is going to be more about focusing on the flow and organization of your writing and making sure that it sounds good and makes sense. So one of the techniques that you can use is to rename something or substitute. And so it says here, are you using the same word, especially a noun, a lot in your writing? Sometimes it's going to be a noun that you're using a lot or an adjective that you feel like you're overusing. For example, if you're writing about a cheetah and you're constantly saying cheetah, 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 and it's fast, it's fast, it's so fast, and you're just overusing those words and repeating way too much, then you want to use a thesaurus to help you to find different words. So I have two links here for you, thesaurus.com and wordhippo.com. Both of these are great choices. Just as a quick example, when you go to Word Hippo, just make sure that you are on synonyms. And then it says another word for, and that's what I'm doing. I'm selecting another word for. How about the word fast? Okay. Because I don't want to keep saying the fast cheetah. So I have quick, rapid, swift. Some of these words are not going to work, and then some of them, will work for you. The other thing that can actually be interesting is when you look at words like this, it might actually help you to write some of your other sentences. Like when I look at some of the words here, I see the word express. And so it's just kind of funny, like you might, want to put that in your paragraph about a cheetah, like it would be in the express lane of a freeway. Like if it was on a freeway, it would be on the fast lane. But if you didn't want to say fast, you could say express. So there's, just things like that. Or if you want to use the word accelerate, like it accelerates at a high speed. You can use some of these other words, somewhere else in your writing if that helps you. So just sometimes seeing different words can make you think of something in your head. And you can kind of scroll down and see, it'll tell you depending on how the word is being used. So you might have to scroll to find the correct usage of the word that you're searching for. But for this one, I am searching for moving or capable of moving at a high speed. So this would be the correct spot to look. So let's go ahead and go back here. So once you can find a synonym, then you can obviously substitute it if it makes sense in your sentence. Another thing that you can also think about is renaming. And sometimes that involves using a synonym, or it just requires you to brainstorm some different words that could be used in terms of like phrases. So let's take a look at an example here. Let's say that you are writing a paragraph about Mars and you don't want to keep using the word Mars. What else could you use? You could brainstorm some ideas about, well, how else can you say the Mars without saying Mars? And after I thought about it for a few minutes, I know that Mars is also called the red planet. And it's also the fourth planet from the sun. So I could use that in my writing, so I'm not having to say Mars, Mars, Mars all the time. So let's take a look at my example here. Here I am going to reuse a lot of the same words. So you'll notice that I reused Mars, colonizing, and natural resources quite a bit in my paragraph. So I would like you to read that. And now let's take a look at how I renamed some of those words, so I'm not repeating them so often. So I changed the word Mars here to the red planet. I changed natural resources to essential elements. I changed the word colonize to inhabit. So that I found using a synonym website. It's not going to work, obviously, if I type Mars into a synonym website. It's not going to tell me the fourth planet from the sun. I had to think of that on my own. So that's kind of my example of renaming something. I had to think of that. So I changed out that Mars for the fourth planet from the sun. So just by doing that, it makes my writing sound better. But of course, whenever you do these types of things, you always have to read through and make sure it still sounds good. So here are some more examples. My animal is the giraffe. So instead of saying giraffe 100 times, how can I rename it so I'm not saying it quite that often? So on a piece of paper, I just wrote down some ideas and then I just typed them here. So I know that a giraffe, I could also call that a gentle giant, the tallest animal on earth, a gentle herbivore, the tallest land animal. I could just call it an herbivore. Remember, an herbivore is an animal that eats plants, or I could just call it a giant. But as an example, if I went here and I typed the word giraffe, see, it doesn't really give me anything. So you can't always rely, on a website to help you. But what you can do is to brainstorm a list. And that's what this slide is to hopefully to help you to kind of start thinking of some ideas. If you're doing a dolphin, maybe you could call it a marine animal. Even if you're not doing a dolphin, maybe that might work for your animal. Calling it a sea mammal, an intelligent sea creature, or an intelligent sea mammal. I mean, there are just ways to use this so that you're not saying dolphin, 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 dolphin throughout your whole body paragraphs. For a red-tailed hawk, perhaps I could say it's a bird or a bird of prey, or I could say it's a large hawk instead of saying red-tailed hawk every single time. Maybe I could call it a keen-eyed hunter instead of having to say red-tailed hawk. For a frog, I could call it an amphibian, or maybe it lives in the water and I could call it a water-loving amphibian. For a snake, just to give you some ideas, you could call it a reptile. You could, if it lives in the desert, maybe a desert-dwelling reptile, a legless reptile, the cold-blooded reptile. A lion actually has a lot. It's a carnivore since it eats meat. It's king of the jungle, king of beasts, king of animals. You could call it a leader. You could call it the king. You could call it a big cat. You could call it a feline. You could call it a hunter. You could call it a predator. So think of adjectives and nouns that you can use to replace the regular animal's name. Again, just to help your paragraph not be so repetitive. So here's an example. I went through my body paragraph and I made it more repetitive on purpose for you guys. I used tongue and giraffe a lot, okay, in this rough draft version. So I'm not going to read this right now, but you can obviously pause the video and read it to yourself or look at the presentation and read it. You will notice that a lot of my sentences are starting with a giraffe or the giraffe. That gets really repetitive, you guys, and it does not help your writing sound good. And you'll notice that I have a lot of simple sentences. A simple sentence is when you have a subject and a verb, and it's usually a short sentence, and that's it. There's one idea, there's one subject, there's one verb, and that's it. A giraffe's tongue is very useful. Giraffes eat acacia trees. Do you see giraffes eat acacia trees? Like you have a subject and you have a verb, and that's it. It's generally a short sentence. If you speak or write with a lot of simple sentences, it can sound very robotic. A giraffe's tongue is very useful. Giraffes eat acacia trees. A giraffe's tongue helps it to eat without getting hurt. So it just sounds very, I don't know, direct, and it's not anything that you really want to do with your writing. Simple sentences are for, elementary school kids when they're first starting to write. That's kind of the building blocks. But once you guys get older, you need to start incorporating other sentence structures into your writing, like compound sentences, complex sentences. I know your elementary teachers taught you this. If you don't know what a compound sentence is, Google it. If you don't know what a complex sentence is, Google it. Your quill activities this week and next week and the following week actually all help you with this. But I'm just letting you guys know you want to avoid just having a bunch of simple sentences. So let's take a look at my revised version here. So what you'll see is I used renaming in a few places, and that's all you have to do. Just a few times is all you have to do. You don't have to change every giraffe to something else because that would sound really weird. You'll notice that I kept the word giraffe a lot, but I did use a couple of renaming opportunities to make my writing sound better. I also added more detail to my writing. I combined sentences. I have sentence variety. I used transition words, which I didn't have in my rough draft. So you guys can pause the video. You can read through this paragraph. You can see what I did. And I want you to also do that with your body paragraphs. Don't start your sentences with the same word. Add those transitions. Remember, I have this list here to help you. All of those transitions. So anyways, that is kind of where you would start with things. And then this editing checklist is to really focus you in and make sure that you are doing everything here to make sure that your project is ready to be graded. So let's take a look at this checklist so that you know how to complete it. Right here, I actually just have a link to my presentation just to make it a little bit easier to access. And what I would like you guys to do is to simply put an X in these boxes once you have completed each thing. Some of these will just take you a few seconds. Others will take you a little bit more time to go through. So let's take a look at publication, which is part of editing. Is the spacing consistent? Do you have one space after a period? And then it says, are all paragraphs indented using the tab key? So let's use mine as an example. If your paragraph looks like this, you need to hit the tab key to indent it. You need to make sure that every paragraph is indented, including your introduction, both of your body paragraphs, and your conclusion. Okay, so if it looks like this, you just need to hit the tab key and indent it. The other thing there is that how many spaces do you have after a period? It shouldn't look like that. It should be one space. There shouldn't be two spaces, just one. Okay, so that's just a little reminder, just one of those little editing things that you want to go back and make sure is complete. Okay, so we checked that. Is the font, the size, and the color of your text consistent and easy to read throughout your work? All right, so mine is obviously color-coded to help you guys. You don't have to do that. But the font is easy to read. The size is easy to read. If you guys have your font really small, okay, you want to go ahead and increase it to a size that takes up most of the room without going over. Okay, that would be obviously too big. So I'm going to make it as big as I can without it kind of making it too big. All right, so yes, I have done that. Do you have your works cited with all of the sources that you used in your writing? And I have linked things to help you guys. So I have a link to my works cited presentation in case you need it. So let me go back to my, my document here. And I have my works cited. And what I'm asking is that have you included all of the things that you cited in your body paragraphs? Does that appear in your works cited? So if I go through, I should see Murray, page 10, Grasset, I should see Acacia. I should see these things show up in your works cited, okay? And so when I look, I should see, yep, you've got all 5 there. Okay, those are the 5 that you used in your body paragraphs, and they're all there for your works cited, and the works cited is done correctly. All right, so that's what I would want to make sure is done. Do you have pictures where you need them? So when you guys got your template, it says right here, you want to have pictures or picture for main reason number 1 to 2 pictures is what would be great. You can do more if you want, but at least 1 to 2. You can go ahead and delete this. I don't need this anymore. You can delete it and you can make your pictures bigger. That was just kind of a placeholder so that you know what to do there. So you should have a picture for your title page. You should have a picture here. You should have pictures here. You should have a picture right here. And that's all that you have to have. If you wanted to do some more, that's okay, but that's all that I'm looking for. So yes. Do you have fun facts? All right. Well, do I? Yes, I have my 2 fun facts. And we don't have to cite our sources for these because I didn't want to add too much more for you guys to do. But as long as you have your fun facts, you're good. Did you delete all the slides that you don't need anymore? Okay, so what does that mean? It means that if you don't have a main reason number 3, I would need you to go ahead and delete these slides. So you would delete slide 10 and delete slide 11 by just clicking on them to the left here, and then where they're outlined in orange, and then hit the delete button, and that will delete them. The other ones that you can delete would be this one, and this one. So you want to delete the first, second, and third slide. And when you delete those, this slide right here would be your very first slide. I also made a mistake, you guys, and I made superpowers 1 word, and that was my mistake. So you just need to make a space there. It will underline in red. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But it does need to be 2 words. Okay, so you can fix that for me before turning it in. So yes, that is done. Now we can move on to language with revising. Do most of the sentences begin with different words? Okay, well, that's pretty easy. You just go through and you skim your writing and you would just look, okay, this sentence starts with without, this one starts with that's, this one starts with scrubs, this one starts with acacia. Yes, this looks like I am not starting my sentences with the same word over and over again, okay? So that's all I'm asking you to do. It will take a few seconds for you to go through your body paragraphs and just make sure that you're not starting a bunch of your sentences the same way. And if you do notice that, then you would want to go back and you'd want to change up your writing so that you aren't doing that. You might need to use those transitions. You might need to go back to my revising and editing presentation to help you figure that out. Do you have sentence variety? We've talked about this, but do you have a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences? Do some of the sentences begin with a transition? Yes. And then again, here is my list of transition words to help you. And when you notice, I have in fact, I have therefore. For this one, let's see, I have in fact again, I have in addition, I had wrote specifically, I have overall for my conclusion. So yes, I did use quite a few transition words. Did you incorporate renaming into your writing and avoid too much repetition for your main nouns? Obviously, I have done that because I showed you my example. Have you incorporated higher level words? And that again is using those synonyms. Instead of saying the word fast, maybe it's an agile cheetah. And an agile cheetah is, again, a higher level word. A second or third grader's going to know the word fast, but they're probably not going to know the word agile. So using a higher level word is what we want you to do. And again, it doesn't have to be every sentence. But when I'm reading your body paragraphs, I should see that you've tried to use a couple of higher level words. And the synonyms will really help you with that. Have you reread your writing several times to make sure it sounds sensible? Yes, I have done this because I have read this out loud to myself more times than I, probably should say. But that's important because, I caught a lot of mistakes by doing that. You could have a friend read it. You could have a parent read over it with you. That way they can catch any kind of silly mistakes. And that would be important to do. And I really do stress you guys to read it out loud. Reading out loud will help you to find mistakes and to make sure that your writing flows. All right, next, do you have an effective hook? So I've included the introduction presentation here to help you. So you would just want to go through and make sure that you have a hook and that it follows one of the options that I gave to you and that you think that it's effective. Do you have strong topic sentences? So again, I've included a presentation here to help you just to make sure your topic sentences are strong. Do you have a thesis statement that includes your main reasons and they are in the correct order? So yes, what I mean by that is when I look at my thesis statement here, this is my main reason number one, height, right? Because that's my first one. And then my second one is talented tongue. So like I've discussed before, they need to be in the correct order. So whatever your main reason number one is should be here, and whatever your main reason number two is should be the second thing written. And keep in mind that in my introduction presentation, let me just bring it over here for a moment. I gave you sentence starters, right, to help you with your thesis statements. So if you forgot that, then that would be a good place to look. Do your pieces of evidence support your topic sentences? Do you properly cite your sources within your body paragraphs? Okay, so again, it's just I'm asking you to go back and take a look. If your main reason is all about height, then your pieces of evidence should be about the height. And then are you citing your sources properly? Okay, so I'm just asking you to double check that. Again, I've included my citing sources presentation to help you. Do you have an effective conclusion? Same thing. Have the presentation there to help you. You would want to review that and make sure that it's effective and that you followed the guidelines for a conclusion. Do you elaborate your evidence? And again, I have my presentation there to help you. And did you use those elaboration strategies? When I'm talking about the elaboration strategies, I'm talking about these right here. I should see these in your body paragraphs. I should see cause and effect, or I should see examples, or I should see you adding on more facts or doing, two of these things or three of these things. It's totally fine to combine them. But I should see these strategies in your body paragraphs. I'm just asking you to double check that. And then lastly, using those quill activities to help you with your conventions. Have you corrected spelling mistakes? Use spell check. So when you're taking a look at your body paragraphs, now I don't have anything misspelled because I've already edited my writing, but let's say I was typing too quickly and I misspelled giraffe or I misspelled earth, okay? If you guys have anything underlined in red and it's not because the computer doesn't recognize it, you would want to go up to tools and go to spelling and make sure that you have underline errors checked. If you don't, you'd want to do that. And then you would want to go ahead and do spell check. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my mistakes. Do not turn in your work to me if it has a bunch of red underlined words. That means you have spelling mistakes, so you need to go back and fix that. Okay, so yes, I've done that. Have you checked the grammar? Use Grammarly. So I have a link right here. When you click on that link, it takes you to Grammarly. This is an option for you guys. When you go to Grammarly, you would click on the new button. And what's going to happen is there's not much here, okay? It says type or paste your text or upload a document. What you can do to help to just check your writing for grammar mistakes, let me go back to mine here. I'm going to go ahead and just as an example, maybe I won't take this whole thing. Let me just do my conclusion. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my conclusion. I'm going to Control C, which is to copy it. Remember, you can also go here to edit and you can hit the Control button here. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste it into this document. And then it says, you can like tailor your results, but I'm just going to click done. And then I'm going to see if it gives me any suggestions. Now it says, great job, no relevant suggestions here. Awesome. But when you put yours in, you might see that it gives you some feedback. It might catch some grammatical errors. Just keep in mind, because you guys have the free version, or at least most of you have the free version, it might say like, we have all these suggestions for you, but we won't tell you unless you basically pay for the program. don't do that. You don't have to pay for the program. You just do your best. See if it can give you any clues with your writing. If I do a big paragraph like this, I control copy it, and then I can go in here and hit control paste. All right, so it's finding a few things. It's going to say it wants me to change the wording. The phrase, in order to maybe wordy, consider changing the wording. Okay, so they're saying that's because to grab leaves off its favorite tree. Okay, so maybe I want to change that. It wants me to replace the word. It appears that off is not the correct word to use. Leaves off its tree. Well, it wouldn't make sense to say of its tree. So no, I'm going to trash that one because that doesn't make sense. Let's see what it says here. It seems the verb prevent does not agree with the subject. Consider changing the verb form. So let's see. In fact, a giraffe has a soft, thick coating all over its tongue and on the inside of its mouth that prevents pokes. Yeah, so good. It caught a mistake. I mean, that's why I love this program. So yes, I'm going to take that example. Let's see, is able to change the wording. So what's it saying? Can. Okay, so this is an important trait because the giraffe can eat plants that other animals can't. Okay, sure. Maybe it was a little too wordy before and I could shorten it up. This one, it doesn't like in addition. It likes also or besides. Well, besides wouldn't make sense, but also another interesting fact. Sure. Okay, again, you can take the suggestion or you don't have to. It's totally up to you. And then this one, it's specifically, and looks like I have a typo here, right? I would need to change that. So I'm going to trash that. I'm just going to put it specifically. Let's see, okay, so it caught a little mistake. It is about 18 inches long. Great. So now this is a lot better. So you can see why Grammarly is awesome, because even though I had reread my paragraphs, again, I don't even want to say probably how many times I reread it, there are still mistakes. So that just goes to show if you don't do that with your own writing, I mean, just imagine how many mistakes could be there and you wouldn't even know it. All right, so then what I would want to do is I would want to go back and fix the mistakes in here. Well, all you would have to do is just, once you got the Grammarly version, right? So all you guys would have to do is just select it, hit Control C to copy it, and then all you would have to do is go ahead and delete what was there and just paste in the Grammarly version. Okay, so I'm not going to leave it like this because it got rid of all my color coding, but I'll fix the mistakes that it suggested. That way I have a better version. Okay, so that's what you would do. You just get rid of your old version, copy in the new version. If you needed to change the font or whatever, you would do that again. But that right there will help you guys out a lot. And then lastly here, have you read over your work several times to find typos? Well, I would hope so by this point. And then, do all of your sentences have proper punctuation, capitalization. Again, I would hope so after reviewing it, having a friend or a family member review it, using Grammarly, using spell check and all that good stuff. You guys should be having, proper punctuation, capitalization, all that. And that's it. So once you are done and everything is checked off here, I always just kind of give it one last look through. I would just go through everything one last time. I have this slide, you guys don't. I just had this to kind of help you guys know the order of things, but you don't have that, so don't worry about it. But yeah, everything looks really good, and I'm proud of my presentation, and I would go ahead and submit it at this point and make sure that I turn in my checklist as well, and then I would be done. So I know this is a long video, but it really is, walking you through every little thing to help you to finish up this project and have it be the best that it can be. So I'm really looking forward to reading all of your presentations, and thank you for listening.